Tonight, I don't need you to be polite. I need you to be as positioned. Because what is about to come out of your mouth is about to interrupt what has been cycling in your bloodline. You have survived long enough under almost, long enough under not enough, long enough under maybe next month. But tonight, God is not negotiating with lack. He is evicting it. The spirit of poverty that has tried to sit in your house like an uninvited guest is about to hear an order from heaven of your time is up as. Some of you have been working hard, praying hard, believing hard, and still the door has felt heavy. Still the bank account has felt tight. Still the dreams have felt delayed. But hear me, poverty is not your portion. Shortage is not your inheritance. And struggle is not your identity. There is a sound in the spirit, and it is not the sound of begging. It is the sound of Azar's authority. Tonight, when this psalm comes out of your mouth, chains are going to break, mindsets are going to shift, and doors are going to swing open that no human could force. I want you to understand something. This is not just a prayer. This is a as-legal transaction in the spirit. You are about to serve notice to every limiting pattern, every generational curse, every invisible barrier that has tried to cap your increase. Heaven is standing at attention right now, waiting for your voice to agree with God's word. When you speak this psalm, you are not asking, you are declaring FS. Now, if you are ready to see your atmosphere change, I want you to take one bold step of faith right now. As I like this video and subscribe to the channel for daily prayer, do not just watch, participate. Type Sarazim in the comments as a prophetic seal, and then write as one thing you're believing God for today. Eyes, your words are seeds, and tonight they are going into fertile ground. Because this is your moment to shift from surviving to reigning, from lack to overflow, from waiting to walking. The same God who opened the sea, who fed the hungry, who multiplied the little, is about to step into your situation. And as you release this psalm, expect the spirit of poverty to lose its grip, lose its voice, and lose its power over your life starting now. The spirit of poverty is not a financial issue. It is a spiritual stronghold that has learned how to disguise itself as circumstance, how to wear the mask of economy, how to borrow the language of logic and reason, and how to convince good people that what they are experiencing is normal, acceptable, and permanent. But there is nothing normal about always struggling, nothing acceptable about always lacking, nothing permanent about what God never authorized in the first place. Poverty is not just about what is missing in your wallet. It is about what has been attacking your mind, shaping your expectations, and training your emotions to settle for less than what heaven already approved for you. It is a system of thinking, a way of perceiving life, a silent agreement with limitation that slowly teaches you to expect less, ask for less, and even dream less, until you forget that you were created to live from abundance, not from survival. This stronghold does not begin with empty hands. It begins with a restricted vision. It whispers that this is as far as you can go, that this is as good as it gets, that your background, your family history, your past mistakes, or your current environment define your future. It teaches you to measure yourself by what you see instead of by what God has spoken. Over time, it convinces you that you must work twice as hard for half as much, that increase is for others, that overflow is for a select few, that stability is a luxury you may never touch. And because it works quietly, because it feels familiar, because it sounds practical, it rarely gets challenged. People fight bills, but they do not fight the mindset behind the bills. They pray for money, but they do not confront the spirit that keeps them in a cycle of lack. This is why you cannot defeat poverty with effort alone. You cannot outwork a stronghold. You cannot budget your way out of a spiritual agreement. You cannot save yourself into freedom if your mind is still bound. You may change jobs, move cities, start businesses, or receive opportunities. But if the stronghold remains, it will recreate the same patterns in new environments. The same fear, the same anxiety, the same sense of never having enough will follow you. Because the issue was never the location, the salary, or the timing. The issue has always been the unseen influence that has been shaping your responses, your choices, and your expectations. A stronghold is a fortified way of thinking that resists truth. It is a mental structure that feels safe because it is familiar, even when it is destructive. It builds walls around your imagination, fences around your hope, and ceilings over your faith. It trains you to live defensively instead of confidently, cautiously instead of courageously, always preparing for loss instead of expecting increase. And the longer it remains, the more it feels like part of your identity. You begin to say things like, this is just how my life is, this is just my luck, This is just my reality. Not realizing that you are repeating the language of the very thing that is trying to keep you bound. The spirit of poverty feeds on fear. It feeds on comparison. It feeds on memories of disappointment. It feeds on generational narratives that say people like us do not prosper. Families like ours do not succeed. Backgrounds like ours do not rise. It borrows the stories of the past and projects them onto the future, creating a loop that feels unbreakable. But the truth is, cycles only continue when they are not confronted. Patterns only persist when they are not interrupted. And this is why God does not just provide, He delivers. He does not only supply, He restores. He does not simply give you more. He changes how you see, how you think, how you expect. When you recognize poverty as a spiritual stronghold, you stop personalizing it. You stop blaming yourself for everything that has gone wrong. You stop seeing your struggle as a reflection of your worth. You begin to understand that you have been in a battle you did not name, influenced by something you did not identify, resisting something you did not yet recognize. And with that awareness comes authority, because what you can name, you can confront. What you can see, you can challenge. What you can identify, you can dismantle. This stronghold often begins early. It may have entered through words spoken over you, through environments that lacked, through experiences that taught you to fear loss. It may have been reinforced by moments when you tried and failed, when you hoped and were disappointed, when you trusted and were hurt. Each moment added another layer, another brick, another reason to guard your heart, another excuse to limit your dreams. And before you knew it, what started as protection became imprisonment. What started as caution became confinement. What started as realism became resignation. But God did not create you to live under ceilings. He did not design you to measure your life by scarcity. He did not call you to spend your days worrying about survival. You were created to live from a place of trust, to move with confidence, to expect provision, to release generosity, to walk in peace. And the reason the stronghold must be broken is not so you can have more, but so you can become who you were always meant to be. Because poverty does not just restrict resources, it restricts purpose. It narrows your focus. It drains your energy. It keeps you so busy surviving that you never step into your true assignment. When this spirit is operating, it distorts your relationship with God. It makes you see Him as a distant supplier instead of a loving Father. It makes you feel like you must beg instead of believe, strive instead of trust, prove instead of receive. It causes you to approach prayer with desperation instead of confidence, as if you are trying to convince God to be good instead of aligning with the goodness He has already revealed. And this is one of the most damaging effects of the stronghold, because it separates you emotionally from the very source of your freedom. But when the stronghold begins to break, something shifts inside you. You begin to feel lighter, as if a weight you did not realize you were carrying is being lifted. Your thoughts become clearer. Your expectations begin to rise. Your prayers become bolder. Your dreams start to feel possible again. You stop shrinking in rooms. You stop apologizing for wanting more. You stop feeling guilty for desiring stability, joy, and peace. You realize that abundance is not selfish, that provision is not prideful, that overflow is not excess, it is capacity for impact. This is not about chasing money. It is about breaking agreements with limitation. It is about refusing to let fear define your future. It is about choosing to see yourself through the lens of heaven instead of through the lens of history. It is about allowing God to rewire your thinking, to renew your mind, to replace old narratives with new truths. Because when your mind changes, your life follows. When your beliefs shift, your choices align. When your expectations rise, your actions reflect them. You are not here by accident. You are not trapped by design. You are not destined to struggle forever. What you have been facing is not a verdict. It is a season. It is not a sentence. It is a signal that something must change, that something must be confronted, that something must be released. And as you become aware of this stronghold, as you begin to see it for what it is, you are already stepping into freedom, already loosening its grip, already creating space for something new to emerge. You are allowed to believe for more. You are allowed to hope again. You are allowed to imagine a future that is not limited by your past. You are allowed to expect good, to receive help, to walk in peace, to live with confidence. You are allowed to break the cycle, to rewrite the story, to step into a new chapter where lack no longer defines you, fear no longer controls you, and survival is replaced by purpose, faith, and quiet assurance that you are supported, guided, and provided for in ways you are only beginning to understand. God's word is not simply a collection of comforting phrases or ancient writings preserved through time. It is a living, legal instrument in the spirit realm that carries authority, power, and divine permission to alter realities. When you speak the word, you are not repeating sentences, you are activating laws. You are not reciting poetry. You are enforcing what has already been written in heaven. Every promise is a contract, every declaration is a summons, every truth is an invitation for heaven to move in your life. The reason the word works is not because of how emotional you feel when you speak it, but because of whose authority stands behind it. Heaven responds to alignment, and the word is the language of that alignment. The spirit realm operates on order, not emotion. It responds to structure, not desperation. It moves according to what is authorized, not what is wished for. This is why the word is described as sharper than any sword, because it cuts through confusion, through delay, through resistance, through opposition. It separates what is permitted from what is not, what belongs from what must leave, what can remain from what must be removed. When you declare the word, you are not trying to persuade God. You are standing in agreement with Him, and agreement is the currency that activates power. For many, prayer has felt like pleading, as if they are trying to convince heaven to care, to act, to intervene. But the word teaches a different posture, one of confidence, one of expectation, one of legal authority. When you speak what God has already spoken, you are not asking for permission. You are presenting evidence. You are saying this is what has been written. This is what has been promised. This is what has been authorized. And in the spirit realm, what is written carries weight. It establishes jurisdiction. It creates access. It opens doors that were previously closed. This is why the word must be spoken, not just read. There is something about releasing it into the atmosphere that shifts environments. Sound carries intention. Voice releases power. When the word leaves your mouth, it enters the realm of action. It confronts what has been resisting you. It challenges what has been standing in your way. It announces that a higher authority is now present. And when a higher authority enters, lower authorities must yield. They may have occupied the space for a time, but they do not own it. The word also exposes the lies that have been shaping your reality. It shines light into the hidden corners of your thinking, revealing where fear has taken root, where doubt has settled, where limitation has been accepted. It does not condemn, it corrects. It does not shame, it restores. It does not break you down, it builds you up. It replaces confusion with clarity, heaviness with peace, uncertainty with confidence. And as your inner world changes, your outer world begins to respond. Every cycle of lack, delay, and frustration has a legal root. Something somewhere has been allowed to remain. The word is what revokes that permission. It cancels old agreements. It nullifies outdated contracts. It dissolves restrictions that were never meant to govern your life. When you declare what God says, you are withdrawing consent from what has been operating against you. You are closing doors that were left open through fear, ignorance, or past experiences. You are restoring order where chaos tried to reign. This is why consistency matters. One declaration can open a door, but continual alignment keeps it open. Each time you speak the word, you are reinforcing the truth. You are strengthening the new structure. You are retraining your mind, your emotions, and your expectations. You are teaching your spirit how to live from a higher place. And slowly, what once felt impossible begins to feel natural. What once felt distant begins to feel close. What once felt out of reach begins to feel within grasp. The word also carries creative power. It does not just change circumstances, it creates new ones. It calls into existence what has not yet been seen. It shapes the future before it arrives. It prepares the ground for what is coming. When you speak it, you are planting seeds in the unseen. You may not see immediate results, but something is happening beneath the surface. Roots are forming. Structures are being built. Pathways are opening. And in time, what was declared begins to manifest. This is not about volume. It is about authority. It is not about repetition. It is about revelation. It is not about performance. It is about alignment. When your heart agrees with what your mouth is saying, there is a resonance that moves heaven. It creates a harmony that shifts the atmosphere. It invites divine intervention into ordinary moments. It turns daily routines into sacred encounters. It reminds you that you are never alone, never unsupported, never without access to what you need. The word also restores your sense of identity. It reminds you who you are, whose you are, and what you carry. It lifts you out of survival and into purpose. It helps you see beyond the present moment and into the greater story of your life. It reconnects you with the original design, the original calling, the original intention. It brings you back to center, back to peace, back to trust. And from that place, you begin to move differently, speak differently, choose differently. When you face challenges, the word becomes your anchor. It steadies you when emotions rise. It grounds you when circumstances shift. It keeps you focused when distractions try to pull you away. It reminds you of what is true when everything else feels uncertain. It becomes the lens through which you interpret your experiences, the filter through which you make decisions, the foundation on which you build your life. The more you engage with the word, the more natural it becomes to live from it. It stops feeling like something you visit and starts feeling like something you inhabit. It becomes part of your inner language, part of your daily rhythm, part of your response to life. You begin to see challenges as opportunities for alignment, delays as invitations to trust, transitions as moments of growth. You realize that nothing is wasted, nothing is random, nothing is beyond redemption. There is a quiet confidence that grows when you know the word. It does not rush, it does not panic, it does not strive. It rests in the assurance that what has been spoken will come to pass. It moves with patience, with peace, with expectation. It trusts the process even when the outcome is not yet visible. It knows that timing is not denial, that waiting is not rejection, that silence is not absence. And as you continue to speak, to align, to believe, you create a pathway for heaven to move through your life. You become a channel of peace, a carrier of hope, a reflection of divine order. Your presence begins to bring calm. Your words begin to bring clarity. Your faith begins to inspire others, not because you are trying to, but because you are living from a place of alignment. The word is always working, even when you cannot see it. It is always moving, even when you feel still. It is always shaping, even when you feel unchanged. It is always preparing, even when you feel unready. And as you remain connected, as you continue to declare, as you stay aligned, you will find yourself stepping into new spaces, new opportunities, new levels of peace and provision that feel like a natural extension of who you are becoming. Not a sudden arrival, but a gentle unfolding of what was always meant to be. Your mouth is not just a part of your body. It is a gateway, a doorway between what is within you and what surrounds you, a bridge between the unseen and the seen. Every word you release carries direction, carries intention, carries the power to shape what you experience. Long before something manifests in your life, it is often rehearsed in your speech. Patterns form first in language, then in behavior, then in reality. What you declare consistently becomes the atmosphere you live in because your words are not empty sounds. They are seeds that settle into the soil of your life and grow into visible outcomes. Many people speak without realizing they are creating. They talk about lack and then feel surrounded by scarcity. They talk about fear and then feel trapped by anxiety. They talk about failure and then see doors closing. It is not that life is punishing them. It is that their own declarations have been agreeing with the very things they do not want. The mouth simply reveals what the heart has already accepted, and what the heart accepts, the life eventually follows. This is why awareness is so important, because you cannot change what you do not notice, and you cannot redirect what you have not acknowledged. Your words carry alignment. They either agree with truth or reinforce limitation. They either open space for growth or maintain cycles of stagnation. Each time you speak, you are choosing a direction, whether you realize it or not. You are casting a vote for the kind of life you expect to live. When you speak from fear, you give fear a place to settle. When you speak from hope, you create room for possibility. When you speak from trust, you strengthen peace. Over time, these small choices accumulate, shaping the tone of your days and the rhythm of your life. The mouth often becomes the place where internal battles are revealed. Doubt, insecurity, disappointment, and hope all pass through the same doorway. And whichever one is given the most expression becomes the strongest influence. This is not about pretending everything is perfect or denying challenges. It is about choosing which voice will have the final word. You can acknowledge what is happening without allowing it to define what is possible. You can be honest without being hopeless. You can be aware without being defeated. When you begin to change your declarations, you may notice resistance. Old habits of speech may feel comfortable because they are familiar. Complaining, worrying, and expecting the worst can feel safer than believing for something better, because disappointment has taught you to guard your heart. But guarding your heart does not mean closing it. Protecting yourself does not mean limiting your future. There is a gentle courage required to speak differently, to believe differently, to expect differently, especially when past experiences have not been kind. As you practice speaking words of alignment, something within you begins to shift. Your mind becomes quieter. Your emotions become steadier. Your outlook becomes lighter. You start to notice opportunities where you once saw obstacles. You begin to see progress where you once saw delay. This is not because the world suddenly changed, but because your perception did. And perception shapes experience. The same environment can feel heavy or hopeful depending on the lens through which you view it. Your words also influence how others experience you. They carry tone, energy, and intention. They can bring peace into a room or create tension. They can encourage or discourage. They can build bridges or erect walls. When you choose to speak with care, you become a source of calm. When you choose to speak with faith, you become a source of strength. When you choose to speak with kindness, you become a place of safety. Your mouth becomes a channel through which life flows, not just for you, but for those around you. There is also a quiet authority in choosing your words wisely. It is a way of taking responsibility for your inner world. It is a declaration that you are no longer willing to let circumstances dictate your narrative. You begin to see yourself as a participant in your life, not just a spectator. You realize that you have a voice, and that voice matters. It shapes how you move through challenges, how you respond to change, how you interpret what is happening around you. As you grow in this awareness, you may find yourself pausing before you speak, not from fear, but from intention. You begin to ask yourself whether your words are creating what you desire or reinforcing what you are trying to leave behind. This pause becomes a moment of power. It gives you space to choose alignment over reaction, purpose over habit, peace over chaos. And in that space, transformation begins. Your declarations also create momentum. When you consistently speak words of hope, courage, and trust, you begin to move in that direction. Your actions start to match your words. Your choices become aligned with your expectations. You find yourself taking steps you once avoided, reaching for opportunities you once ignored, believing in possibilities you once dismissed. The life you speak begins to call you forward, inviting you to grow into it. This process is gentle, but it is profound. It does not require perfection, only intention. You will still have moments of doubt, moments of fear, moments of uncertainty. But now you have a way to return to center. You have a way to realign. You have a way to remind yourself of what you are choosing to believe. Each declaration becomes an anchor, holding you steady as you navigate change. Over time, your inner dialogue becomes kinder, more hopeful, more grounded. The voice that once criticized begins to encourage. The voice that once feared begins to trust. The voice that once limited begins to expand. And as this inner shift takes place, your outer world begins to respond. Relationships feel lighter. Challenges feel more manageable. Joy feels more accessible. Peace feels more present. Your mouth truly is a gateway. It opens paths or closes them. It invites growth or maintains stagnation. It releases life or reinforces limitation. And as you become aware of this, you gain a new sense of agency. You realize that you are not powerless, that you are not stuck, that you are not defined by your past. You are continually creating through what you declare. Each day offers you a fresh opportunity to choose your words with intention, to speak life where there was fear, to speak hope where there was doubt, to speak peace where there was anxiety. These small, quiet choices accumulate, shaping a life that reflects what you have been declaring. And as you continue to align your mouth with what you desire to experience, you step into a rhythm of living where your words and your life move together in harmony, gently guiding you forward into what you are becoming. Poverty leaves when alignment comes, because alignment is the state where everything within you begins to agree with what is already prepared for you. It is not a moment of striving, not a burst of effort, not a sudden rush of activity, but a quiet, steady return to order. When your thoughts, your emotions, your words, and your expectations come into harmony with truth, something shifts in the atmosphere around you. Resistance weakens, confusion settles. The weight you have been carrying begins to lift, not because you forced it to move, but because you are no longer standing in the way of what is trying to reach you. Alignment is not about becoming someone else. It is about remembering who you are. It is a gentle realignment of your inner world, a soft recalibration that brings you back to center. Many people spend their lives trying to fix what is happening around them without ever considering what may be out of place within them. They move from one solution to another, One strategy to another, one hope to another, yet the same patterns remain. But when alignment begins on the inside, the outside naturally responds because life follows order. There is a deep peace that comes when you stop resisting what is meant for you. When you stop arguing with possibility, when you stop telling yourself stories that keep you small. Alignment does not require you to prove yourself, to justify your desires, or to defend your dreams. It simply asks you to agree with what is already written for you. And in that agreement, you find rest. You find clarity. You find a quiet confidence that does not depend on circumstances. When you are out of alignment, everything feels harder than it needs to be. Decisions feel heavy. Progress feels slow. Joy feels distant. Even good opportunities can feel overwhelming because your inner world is not ready to receive them. But when alignment comes, there is a sense of flow. Things begin to connect. Conversations open doors. Ideas feel inspired. Steps feel guided. You begin to notice that you are no longer pushing. You are being led. Alignment is a daily practice. It is the choice to return to truth again and again. It is the willingness to release old beliefs that no longer serve you. It is the courage to let go of what feels familiar but keeps you limited. It is the humility to admit when something within you needs to change. This process is not loud. It does not announce itself. It unfolds quietly, gently reshaping your inner landscape. As you align, you may notice a new sensitivity to what feels right and what feels heavy. You begin to trust your inner guidance more. You feel when something is for you and when it is not. You become less reactive and more responsive. You stop chasing what drains you and start moving toward what nourishes you. Your energy becomes more focused. Your choices become more intentional. Your life begins to reflect the peace you are cultivating within. Alignment also brings a sense of belonging. You no longer feel out of place in your own life. You no longer feel like you are constantly trying to catch up or prove yourself. You begin to feel supported, as if life itself is working with you rather than against you. This does not mean there are no challenges, but it means you face them from a place of stability rather than fear. There is a natural generosity that flows from alignment. When you are no longer consumed by lack, you become open to sharing. When you are no longer afraid of not having enough, you become willing to give. This generosity is not just about resources, it is about time, attention, compassion, and presence. You become a source of light in the lives of others, not because you are trying to, but because you are living from fullness. As alignment deepens, you begin to experience life with a sense of ease. You trust the timing of things. You are patient with the process. You are gentle with yourself when you make mistakes. You understand that growth is not a straight line, but a journey of learning and becoming. You celebrate small steps. You honor progress. You remain open to what is unfolding. Poverty, in all its forms, cannot coexist with alignment. It thrives on separation, on disconnection, on the belief that you are alone and unsupported. Alignment restores connection. It reminds you that you are part of something greater, that you are held, guided, and cared for. This awareness dissolves fear and opens space for trust. And in that space, new possibilities emerge. You begin to see yourself differently. You recognize your worth. You honor your needs. You respect your boundaries. You choose environments that support your growth. You surround yourself with voices that uplift you. You become intentional about what you allow into your mind and heart. Each choice reinforces your alignment, strengthening the foundation you are building. This way of living does not require perfection. It requires presence. It asks you to notice when you are drifting and gently return. It invites you to listen to your inner world and respond with compassion. It encourages you to move at your own pace, trusting that what is meant for you will not pass you by. As you continue on this path, you may find that what once felt impossible now feels within reach, not because you forced it to happen, but because you created the conditions for it to arrive. You become a living invitation for peace, abundance, and purpose to flow into your life. And as you remain aligned, you move forward with a quiet assurance that you are exactly where you need to be, growing into all that you are meant to become. This psalm does not move through noise or force. It moves through presence. It enters the atmosphere gently, yet with authority, touching places that have been guarded for years, reaching corners of the heart that have grown tired of waiting. It does not shout, but it speaks with a certainty that settles deeply within you, reminding you that you are not forgotten, not overlooked, not invisible. As the words of this psalm rise, something begins to loosen, not suddenly, not dramatically, but steadily, like a soft light filling a room that has been dark for a long time. Atmospheres shift first on the inside. Before anything changes around you, something changes within you. Your breath becomes slower, your thoughts become quieter, your spirit becomes open. You may not have realized how much weight you were carrying, how much tension you were holding, until you begin to feel it lift. This psalm carries a rhythm that restores balance, a cadence that brings peace, a truth that gently replaces fear with trust. And in this calm, you begin to sense that something new is possible. Cycles are patterns that repeat when they are not interrupted. They move quietly, passing from season to season, shaping expectations, limiting vision, and reinforcing the same outcomes. But when this psalm is released, it becomes a moment of interruption. It breaks the flow of what has been repeating and introduces a new direction. It does not erase the past, but it changes the path forward. It invites you to step out of what has been and into what can be. There is a door within you that responds to sound. When you hear words that carry truth, that door begins to open. It may have been closed by disappointment, by loss, by fear, by waiting too long for things to change. But this psalm speaks directly to that place. It does not demand, it invites. It does not pressure, it reassures. And as that door opens, light begins to enter, bringing clarity, warmth, and a sense of renewal. Shifts do not always feel like movement. Sometimes they feel like stillness, like a pause between breaths, like a quiet moment where everything seems to settle. This is where change often begins. In the space where you stop striving and start receiving, in the moment where you release control and allow yourself to trust. This psalm creates that space. It holds you there gently, giving you permission to rest, to believe, to open your heart to what is unfolding. As the atmosphere changes, your perspective begins to change with it. What once felt heavy starts to feel lighter. What once felt distant begins to feel closer. What once felt impossible starts to feel within reach. You may not see the full picture yet, but you begin to sense that something is aligning, something is rearranging, something is preparing the way. This awareness brings hope, not the kind that rushes ahead, but the kind that anchors you in the present. Doors often open quietly. They do not always announce themselves with noise or drama. Sometimes they open through a conversation, an idea, a moment of clarity, a gentle nudge to take a step. This psalm prepares you to recognize those moments. It sharpens your awareness, softens your heart, and strengthens your trust. You become more attentive to what is unfolding, more open to what is being offered, more willing to move when the time comes. There is a harmony that begins to form when you allow this psalm to move through you. Your thoughts, your emotions, and your intentions begin to align. You feel more grounded, more present, more at peace. This harmony creates a foundation for growth. It supports new beginnings. It invites stability. It creates space for joy to return. And as you remain in this rhythm, you find yourself moving forward with a quiet confidence. This is not about escaping your life. It is about stepping into it more fully. It is about recognizing that you are supported, guided, and held. It is about trusting that what is meant for you will find its way to you in the right time and in the right way. This psalm reminds you of that truth again and again until it settles deep within you and becomes part of how you see yourself and the world around you. With each repetition, the words sink deeper, creating a sense of belonging, a feeling of being at home within yourself. You begin to feel safe to dream again, safe to hope again, safe to believe that your life can hold more than you once imagined. This safety does not come from certainty, but from trust. It does not come from knowing every step, but from knowing you are not walking alone. And as you continue to rest in this atmosphere, you may notice that your heart feels lighter, your mind feels clearer, your spirit feels stronger. You are not rushing toward a destination. You are allowing the journey to unfold. Each moment becomes an invitation to receive, to grow, to align with what is gently taking shape. This psalm becomes a companion, a quiet guide, a steady presence that walks with you, opening pathways, breaking cycles, and restoring hope in ways that feel natural, peaceful, and deeply real. As we come to the close of this moment, allow your heart to remain open and your spirit to stay still. What has been released tonight is not fading with the sound of these words. It is settling into your life. Something has shifted, something has realigned, something has been awakened inside you. And even if you cannot fully describe it yet, you can feel that you are not the same as when you began. You did not arrive here by accident. You were drawn to this moment because your spirit was ready to receive. What you heard was not just encouragement. It was an invitation to step into a new way of seeing, a new way of believing, a new way of living. Let this awareness stay with you as you move forward, gently guiding your thoughts and your choices. Take a deep breath and remind yourself that you are supported. You are not walking alone. You are not carrying everything by yourself. There is a presence surrounding you, holding you, leading you, even in the moments when you feel unsure. Trust that what has been planted will grow in its own time. Every small step you take from here matters. Each choice to believe, each decision to trust, each moment of hope becomes a seed. These seeds may seem invisible now, but they are already working beneath the surface, preparing something beautiful to emerge in your life. When challenges arise, return to the calm you feel right now. Let this peace be your anchor. Let it remind you that you are stronger than you think, more capable than you realize, and more loved than you have ever known. You carry within you everything you need to move forward. Allow gratitude to become part of your daily rhythm. Even in simple moments, find something to appreciate. Gratitude opens your heart and keeps you connected to the goodness that is always present, even when circumstances feel uncertain. Hold on to the vision that has been stirred within you. Let it guide you when the path feels unclear. You do not need to see the entire journey, only the next step. Trust that each step is leading you exactly where you need to be. Stay gentle with yourself as you grow. There is no rush, no pressure, no comparison. Your journey is your own, unfolding at the perfect pace. Celebrate progress, honor rest, and give yourself permission to evolve. Remember that change begins within. As you continue to align your thoughts, words, and intentions with peace and hope, your life will begin to reflect that harmony. What you nurture inside will shape what you experience outside. And as you move forward, carry this quiet assurance with you. You are becoming, you are growing, you are stepping into a future filled with possibility, guided by trust, strengthened by faith, and surrounded by a peace that will continue to walk with you every step of the way.